no mother wants to outlive their child.
This week on CeleBritty Talk Show.
He taught me what real unconditional love was.
My mom was 13 when she had her first child.
So many aspects of motherhood that people don't speak about.
There's no book or no manual that tells you how to be a great mother.
I don't know what to do. Like, I don't even know my next step.
Whatever you're dealing with, you're going to pass it on to your children.
That's right.
You are literally just out there trying to figure it out.
Why is he crying? But I found out he was having seizures. My son had cerebral palsy.
I didn't want to follow what I learned or what I saw.
If you knew ahead of time that this particular child could be disabled, what would your decision be?
Nurturing capability that God has given you as a woman.
Is it me being selfish?
No matter what you say or they say, I'm going to be there.
That needs care and support, and it speaks to the village.
That's a selfish decision.
You're laying down with people you don't even know their name. You know their nickname.
crazy.
You know him as Lil Ron Ron.
Yeah.
Check in on yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, on the inside.
Postpartum depression.
I love these kids. What is my purpose?
But there are really other things that mothers go through mentally. How has motherhood changed your life? Hello, everyone, and welcome to CeleBritty Talk Show. I'm your host, Brittany Sarah Lynn, and I thank you so very much for joining me today. If you're not already subscribed, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. We have a ton of great giveaways on the way for all of you, and we don't want you all to miss out. We have a number of special guests in the studio today. As you all know, we're in the midst of our thought-provoking series where we bring you all varying opinions on our most popular topics. Today, our panelist coordinator, Angela Trimuel, enlisted some wonderful ladies to do just that. But before I introduce our panel, let me tell you all a little bit about Angela. A native of Chicago with roots that stretch all the way down to Georgia, Angela's story is a testament of resilience and dedication. She built a prosperous 23-year career in grants administration at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and Emory University in Atlanta. She now serves as the dedicated vice president of Trims Trucking, Inc., working closely with her husband. Angela's passion for aiding those in need is evident in her active involvement with various nonprofit organizations. Her unwavering faith shines through her church service, where she inspires and supports others. In her rare spare time, Angela enjoys mentoring young individuals, relishes in travel, and indulges in her favorite TV shows. On today's panel, we have Miss Marlene Trimuel.
Hi.
Miss Shelley Jett.
Hello.
Miss Tatanisha Nelson.
Hi.
We also have Miss Cynthia Flowers.
Hello.
And Miss Sharron Trotter.
Hello.
Thank you, ladies, so very much for joining us.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so today's episode is all about motherhood, the things that we don't speak about and some of the things that we do. So before we jump into that, I just want to ask all of you ladies to give me a brief overview of your experience. How has motherhood changed your life?
I had a journey of motherhood at the age of 18. In my second year of college, I got pregnant. And I found out that my son had cerebral palsy. So I had to catapult into a whole nother direction of my life. But it was great, you know, and I have a daughter, you know, she's totally opposite. But she's a great kid. She's she's not a kid, she's a young woman now. And it helped me to grow up, you know, and I will never change, whether my handicapped child or my daughter, I will never change. I thank God for both of them.
Well, you know what? Motherhood for me has been an eye-opener. Mm-hmm. It helped me to really develop into the woman that God had, you know, called me to be. I saw my mom, and, you know, we always have our expectations. When we see our mom, we say, we want to be just like my mom. But you know what, God, I can say, took me on a different path, meaning that my mom was a homemaker. She stayed at home with us. Mm. So that's the way she raised us. I have, you know, 7 of us, but I have one sister. She was like, you all have to stay at home. Well, I took the different route. I'm like, I believe I can do both. So it really taught me balance. And I had to learn that it was okay for me to be a career woman and also a mom.
I love that.
So,
yes. Motherhood for me has been a complete journey. It has changed my life totally. My first son I did also have at the age of 18. And there's no book or no manual that tells you how to be a great mother. It is something that is actually learned. You have to go through the experiences. And sometimes it's with that child that you go through and learn with. So if I just had to put a little twist on it, it has really sparked my life, changed me in so many ways, and made me the woman I am today, the woman of God I am today.
Amen. Tatanisha?
Whew. So motherhood for me came a little bit different from you ladies, a little bit. Where you made a point about like you took from what your mother showed you and displayed. I was opposite. I didn't want to follow what I learned or what I saw from my mother. So when my child came, excuse me, it's emotional. But when my child came, it was different for me because we were speaking a little bit earlier about this. I still felt like a child. Turning 21, I was like, I'm still a baby. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't even know my next step. I don't even know what I'm doing in life yet. So for me, I would say motherhood allowed me to grow. My oldest was who we kind of grew together. So I learned off of her. It's sad to say, but in some aspects, that's a challenge to her now being 28 that I have to step back and say, I'm sorry, I missed this part. Because we were growing together. Wow. But I never take back or complain about why, the wins, the whys, and what happened, because I feel like it's all a learning experience. So I wouldn't change anything for the world, because at this point in my life, I feel like that helped me to learn even more and how to keep moving through motherhood.
Absolutely. And I think you're definitely not alone in that. No matter the age, I think everyone, first-time mothers, the first child is always the project child.
Yeah, that's a learning experience.
And see how it works, right? Because it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't come with a user manual. It doesn't come with the instruction kit that they give you at the hospital. You are literally just out there trying to figure it out, regardless of age. You know what I mean? You're just trying to figure it out. So I definitely understand.
I'd say for me, motherhood changed me in the way that it gave me the privilege, honestly, to be present for my family. I was married, had been married for a couple of years before kids started coming along, but we had children at stair steps. So after one was 2, 4, 6. So now they're 27, 20, they'll be 25, 25, 27, 29. But the journey of motherhood has been such a blessing. It has been one of my most favorite roles. I had the privilege of being a stay-at-home mom for a period of time. I was able to take off and kind of postpone and delay my career to make that choice. And so now being able to see what it looks like on the other side of having been active, engaged parent, it's just one of my proudest moments. Yes.
I love that. Absolutely, Sharron.
Oh, wow. So this is a very exciting question, first of all. And then secondly, in motherhood, well, I was actually blessed to be a bonus mom before I was actually a birthing mom. So that was very unique. That was a great experience. And then when our babies came along, that was very exciting. And it just gave me my why, my purpose, my nurturing, just all of those things I was able to unleash. And I had an amazing husband, so he allowed me to just nurture. I worked and all of that, but I mean, I was a hands-on mom, just did a lot of amazing things. And then I also had the opportunity to become like a neighborhood mom. So I have like numerous children, and I can really say, understanding my why, I know now that I miss God, because I was not supposed to have just 2 babies birth. I was supposed to have many more, but I was listening to the message of the world. You don't really want to have kids, but now if I could do it all over again, I would have many more, maybe about 6.
Absolutely.
I could agree with that, because
without a doubt,
with children now, we see that when it's just 1 or 2 and they grow up, sometimes you lose your purpose, especially if you don't have grandchildren, by the way. So you long for those kids. And then, somebody, we fuss about them coming, eating all the food and, everything, but
Shopping
we miss that. Yes, we miss that.
Absolutely. Well, I like you, Sharron, I've had the privilege of assisting in the raising of so many children, being a child care provider. I'm the only one on this panel that does not have children. Hopefully my mother is not longing for a child, because me nor my brother have children. However, I have had the opportunity to assist in the raising. We have owned child care facilities for so many years, and when I tell you guys, we've been with these kids more than their actual parents. Like, we're literally there with them, going through all the stages of life. So I have very strong opinions on this particular subject. And the reason I wanted to bring it to light was because I feel like there are so many aspects of motherhood that people don't speak about.
That's right.
It's always just, oh, you have a baby, you have a child, you should be so happy and you should be so proud. But there are really other things that mothers go through mentally. Postpartum depression. A lot of them go through that ex resentment, which we're going to talk about. They go through, they look at that child sometimes and they're depressed sometimes because they can't give them the life that they may have wanted to give them. And so there are so many different aspects of motherhood, and I just wanted to touch on some of them today. And that's just regular motherhood. That's just regular. I gave birth to a child. This is my baby, and I'm going to do the best I can to give them the life that I want them to have. But there are also other aspects of motherhood, and I want you to touch on this, when it comes to giving birth or having a child that does have a physical disability. And I know you have experience with it. Can you tell us what that journey was like for you?
For sure. When I first got pregnant and learned I was pregnant, it was kind of a shocker. I'm in college, my life is going. So when he was born, he kept trying to come early. So for some reason, he just kept trying to come, he fought to get here. When he was born outside of the bag. He wasn't even connected to me. That's why I knew that God had a purpose for him. He was only 2 pounds and 10 ounces when he was born. So a lot of people were kind of scared to hold him because he was, at that time, it was 1984, he was so tiny. And I had to literally do all of that. I was at home with my mom, but this was my child. And I still didn't know he was handicapped. And he would cry a lot. And I was like, I don't like little crybaby, So I didn't know what to do. Why is he crying? But I found out he was having seizures. So I had to take him in and do everything. Then they diagnosed him with the cerebral palsy. And I loved him. It was unconditional. I took him everywhere. I mean, he went to church, he went to the mall, he was dressed, he never walked, he never talked. He was total care. Sometimes people would look because he was big. He was tall, he was long, and they would say little stuff. I would hear him. Why is she carrying that baby? She need to make that child walk. I wish I could. That's what I'm saying. But I took it in stride, and I would never change the journey. He grew me up. He taught me what real unconditional love was. Because I did not. Most of you guys know me well. I am a shoe freak. I love shoes. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna get this child some Pampers, and I want these shoes. I have to choose, but those are the things that made me grow. And I wouldn't change the journey for anything.
That's good. And I truly think that is a journey of unconditional love. When you have a child, we expect our children, when we're first finding out, that you're pregnant, I'm sure like, oh, they're going to go on and have a life of their own. But to have to be a total caregiver in every aspect of the word. I got to change them. I got to feed them. I got to make sure they're okay for the rest of their lives. I give you all the props in the world because it takes a level of patience and grace and strength to be able to care for someone throughout there. And I know you care for him for his entire life. And so to be able to do that is amazing. And I have had the privilege and opportunity to work with I've worked with children with special needs, children with cerebral palsy, children in all type of different conditions. What advice would you give to mothers that are in that? Because I see a lot of them struggling because it's a different, set of circumstances. So what advice would you give to those mothers who are trying to raise their baby, but they have those physical or even mental disabilities. We're going to take a quick commercial break, everyone, but don't move because we'll be right back on CeleBritty. Today's panelists have been automatically entered into a luxury vacation giveaway at the beautiful Hilton Alara. Help them secure their win by sharing this episode and sending us a screenshot of your CeleBritty Talk Show YouTube subscription. Trimuel Trucking, offering service you can trust. We're a fully equipped Illinois-based trucking company servicing the entire Chicagoland area with over 3 decades of experience. At Trimuel, we understand the challenges involved with trucking coordination, material management, environmental concerns, and administrative burdens. Trimuel Trucking, offering construction and snow and ice management services. What advice would you give to those mothers who are trying to raise their baby, but they have those physical or even mental disabilities?
So the first thing I would say, they can't worry about what somebody says or how the child looks or whatever. They have to reach in within and know that God gave you that child for a reason. And the reason why he gave it to you, because he knew that you can handle it. And that would be because some people, I'm not sure if either of you agree, if you were given a child total needs, some of you might not have been able to handle it. I know some people in my family said that they could not even do what I did, but that's what I would say. You have to have that, and you can't worry about the naysayers. You can't worry about what people are looking at and what they might be saying. You just have to love that child and look for resources, because there's resources out here that will help them to get the services that they need, get the respite care that they need, and everything. I was blessed to have my little brother, Damani, he thought he was my daddy, and my brother and Pierre's daddy as well. But every time something go wrong, he was right there with me. He was running to the hospital with me. He was doing everything. My oldest brother, Reg, he was the one running me all around to the appointments and everything. So I had family that was there. And then as he got older, my nieces and nephews babysat. They did. So you have to have him involved. Don't treat him like they're special. Have him, do the same thing that a normal child would do. They laugh at me because he was dressed just like me. He had shoes just like me. Never walk. But that's what I would tell them. Just be you and get that support. Try to get that support system to help you. When my daughter came along, oh my God, it changed everything for me, because she grew and she helped to take care of him, and it was a blessing. So I have no regrets, and I would tell, someone else that's the best way to do, because I think a lot of times if people don't have help, then they have resentment of the child, and you can't resent. And then you got to look at, if you're going to resent that child, how is God looking at you?
That's the
And
question.
that would be my advice. Look for help. Look for the sister. They have everything out here. They have all kinds of services. They have respite care. They have free diapers. They have a lot of stuff is here. You just have to search for it.
I love that. I think that's phenomenal advice for any mothers, any of you guys that are out there raising a disabled child. Please look for the help, as she said, because I've seen a lot of mothers who really don't know that exists. They leave the hospital with their baby, and that's it.
Yes, no instruction.
None. I used to always say, I'm like, I feel like everybody needs a parenting class before they walk out the door, but they don't do that. I think it should be mandatory. Like, if you don't get it within the first 6 months, like, you got 6 months to come here and get this, but if you haven't gotten it, then before we let you leave, let's go on through these things real quick so we can protect this baby. You know what I mean? So, but I think what you said is so important and so profound for those mothers to understand. Like you said, how is God viewing you while you're caring for that child? So I think, yes, that is so important, because I think in every way, we as humans need to look at that when we're taking care of, or how we treat everybody.
Yes,
how is God looking at you as you are going throughout your life? You know what I mean? So I love that, but I definitely agree with you guys. It does not come with any type of instruction manual.
Not at all.
And so this is one of the types of motherhood that can be fairly challenging. I was watching an episode of Love is Blind not too long ago. Did you guys watch that show?
I've seen it.
Okay. So this was not this season.
Look, I have not.
You not seen it?
No.
You'll get addicted. So
No.
maybe on Netflix if you ever want to check it out. But I was watching Love is Blind on the previous season, and there was a young lady and a man who got together, and that man's sister was so offended because the young lady who he decided to get engaged to told him that if she could find out nowadays, I know they didn't have this when Pierre was born, but now they have the science that can tell you and show you if your child may be disabled. I think it's a really important tool that people need to use. But the sister of the young man got offended because the young lady said if she knew ahead of time and she could control it, she would not have that child, right? Wow. So the sister was very upset, and she was like, we should feel, every child is special, and you shouldn't feel the way, and every child should be loved, and it shouldn't matter. You shouldn't have a choice. You should have to give birth to that child. So she was very offended about that. And I wanted to present that question to you all today, to everyone here today. If you were given the choice, if you knew ahead of time that this particular child could be disabled, physically disabled, mentally disabled, what would your decision be?
We're going to take a quick commercial break, everyone, but don't move because we'll be right back on Celebrity.
Would you like to be a celebrity panelist coordinator or guest panelist? We'd love to have you.
It has really sparked my life.
Simply email us at submissions@celebrity.com. Would you like to advertise your company on Celebrity Talk Show? Email us now at commercials@celebrity.com. If you were given the choice, if you knew ahead of time that this particular child could be disabled, physically disabled, mentally disabled, what would your decision be? I know what yours would be.
No, I actually want to start. I want to start off before all the rest of you. No, I think when you make that decision, that's a selfish decision for you. So I would say, that would be a problem for me. I would have, because you don't know what the doctor said that, but you don't know what God says. So if you try to abort the child or you do something that you're not supposed to do, how do you know that child was really going to be handicapped? That's what they saw. But God is the author and finisher, and He's the one that's going to be the end. He got the last word.
Amen.
I would definitely go ahead and give birth, because believe it or not, Tamara, I was 33 when I had her. So at that age, they run different tests because of age. And they had said that she has the possibility of having Down syndrome.
Really?
Yes. And I remember calling my husband at work, and, I was crying and everything. But he was like, really? I said, yes. I wasn't even worried. I'm like, okay. I really was. Well, so they sent me down to, I think, U of I for further testing. When I got there, they were like, why did they send you down here? Your percentage is 0.0000000. But
she is very normal.
Yes.
Does not have Down syndrome.
But I never had a second thought about terminating it or doing whatever, because like you said, God is the author and the finisher, and I knew for a fact that if He blessed me with her, He's going to take me through everything I need to.
Amen.
I contemplated this topic, and I thought about it from the perspective of the science. Yeah, there are options that you potentially could know. You could also follow the pregnancy along to see how the child is developing. But personally, when I first thought about the question, I thought about it from the perspective of those percentages. My husband being much older than me, the potentiality of having a child with Down syndrome or cerebral palsy was increased. I was worried about those kinds of things, but fortunately I didn't have to make the decision. But the logical part of me, maybe the selfish part of me, had I gotten that type of information or that confirmation early on, I can't say what choice I would have made. And I do believe, to some degree, it is selfish to say, I don't want to, have a life where I'm committed to having a special needs child, knowing that out the gate.
Fortunately, did not have to have that, never have to face that decision. I do have a niece who are they're now childbearing and having children, and I've just gone through this. Just had a baby the last month.
Oh wow!
And so she had all kinds of things that were being told to her about. The baby was small, so fetal. I think it was retarded fetal growth, or the potential. This potentiality would look like maybe I wouldn't say an encephalopathy, but it would look like a particular diagnosis. Baby could be born this way, but she had committed herself to her faith. She has 5 other children. She was having another child, so she was committed to whatever that journey would look like. And I know that we as a family would be there and be supportive to her if she had made that decision to go. She did make the decision to go forward, and we were prayerful that the baby would be healthy. But had the baby come out with a disability, then we're all signing up for that to be present for it.
That's
Absolutely.
beautiful. And I think that's so important to have family there to support you through that journey.
And the other thing too, Anne mentioned about the resources. So in my professional career, there has been a time where I worked and it was called Division of Specialized Care for Children. So it was a whole population of children who would qualify for benefits. So these would be kids who were at home on ventilators, who might have had to have feeding tubes for life. They had certain diagnoses that qualified them for this program, and there were resources. So the durable medical equipment that would be needed in the home was provided for through the state federal funded program.
I always use this acronym for HOT, honest, open, and transparent. And I thank you for your transparency. But me, I guess, because I'm so compassionate, I have 5 children, 4 boys and 1 girl. And if one of them would have had a disability, it would automatically be for me, I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it. You know why? Not just because of I know who above, but I was raised that way. I came out of a family of 9. My mom lost her only sister at a young age, and she took on her 3 children. So I was raised to be compassionate, loving, caring, all those things. And so to look at somebody else in need right away, I'm like, I'm on it. I'm going to do my best to take care of this child. No matter what the situation or circumstance is, I'm going to provide for this child. I'm going to be there for this child. No matter what you say or they say, I'm going to be there. I'm going to love him to life, or her. Love them to life. Nurture them. Care for them. Because God will not put no more on us than we can bear. If he brought us to, he going to bring us through it.
Come on now.
Amen.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, everyone. But don't move, because we'll be right back on CeleBritty.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on what this panel had to say. Tell us what you're thinking by dropping a comment under today's episode. Linda's Personal Touch and Brittany's Little Blessings Childcare and Transportation. Quality 24-hour Christian and education-based childcare, where we specialize in children while catering to the needs of the working parent. That's right, we're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Offering our top-tier curriculum, professionally trained staff, affordable rates, and our top-rated summer camp and extracurricular activities and programs. Linda's Personal Touch and Brittany's Little Blessing, where quality matters.
God will not put no more on us than we can bear. If he brought us to, he going to bring us through it.
Come on now.
Amen.
Yes.
That's all I got to say. I'll start preaching.
I love that. I love that. I think that's very true. That's something to consider, that if he bestowed you with this particular, I don't want to say a battle, but this job, then that's definitely something to consider. Okay. All right. Sharon?
Oh, wow. I would say the unsaved version of Sharron, because it was a switch when Sharron said yes to Jesus. So the unsaved Sharron, I don't know if I got news like that. I probably would have went with the dictates of society that it'll be a struggle and all of that. But God having saved me and opened my eyes to truth and purpose and all of that, absolutely, positively, without a doubt.
Keeping that back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I kind of have a flip side to it.
Okay.
To the situation. See, this is why y'all have me here.
Yes,
But we love it.
I have a daughter who is no longer with us. Here she is, Nyara. So I didn't get news like this, like ahead of time or anything like that, that she was going to be born disabled in any kind of way. I actually did. At the time I was pregnant with her, they did do that, like check the fluids type stuff. So they did that test. It was never anything wrong. My challenge was that I just had, I believe, an incompetent cervix. So I constantly had miscarriages. So she came 23.6 days. Weeks, as far as that goes. So at birth, she was about 1.5 pounds. Wow. So I did give birth to her, thinking of no complications. Oh my God. But my challenge and the questions came after birth. Okay. So I would say that I would say I'm a woman of faith. I love the Lord, And again, I go back to how you were raised and how your parents were with you, and I didn't really have that background per se, and so I can't go back and say, Mama, what would you have done, or what would you do in this circumstance? And though my mom had 10 sisters and 2 brothers. There was tons of aunties I could go talk to about my situation, but I was married at that time, and so I'm a strong believer in keeping it in the house. My husband is who I should have this conversation with anyway. This is where we have to make this decision together. So the decision making came because she was in the incubator, and what the turn that took in that was that she had to be on the breathing machines to help keep her breathing. From time to time, they'll try to take her off. She would do okay, and then she'll be back on them again. So it was like though she was living with the machine supplying that air. Her stomach became very distended. She had black and blue stomach. So then we found out she had a tear on her intestines. Didn't know which one, but there was a tear. So she's internally bleeding. And at that amount of weeks of giving birth, she also had a stage 4 brain bleed. Oh my God. So, it was a lot of decision making that we had to go through. And when I hold her, literally you're fitting in my palm. And when she's in this incubator and you're looking at her and she's trying to fight, it's like a thought process you have to go through at that point. So at this point, me being married, I already had 2 children before meeting my husband that I had gotten married to. And so I had my boy and I had a girl. So in my mind, the selfish part of that was I have a boy and a girl. My husband at that time did not have any children. This was his first. So that wasn't a decision that I can just up and say no, because it came to us by the doctors of what would you like to do? We can perform this surgery with as far as the brain bleed goes. There's a likelihood that she will deal with a lot of mental challenges moving forward because of the severity of the brain bleed. But then you think about the intestinal part. Exactly. Everything wasn't completely formed because I can look at her anal and see that she wasn't completely formed. But that's me, my background, and I was also older than my husband. So I'm seeing this all and have experienced birth before and watched this. So it was like I had to learn at that point to be stronger and to learn how to have that conversation with my husband about what was going on and what the reality was. So yes, on the flip side of things, when you say being selfish in that type of circumstance, is it me being selfish because of myself saying, I'm not going to want to deal with this? I didn't look at it like that. So when I spoke to my husband, I looked at it as we are being selfish by wanting to bring her into this world, knowing the battles she's about to face. She's going to go through so much when she's in school. People are going to bully her. Like, I'm seeing this because of my other 2 children that have already, and they don't even have they might have some, but they don't have a major disability that they were struggling with, So it's like, that's how I viewed it. But I had to be very conscious of his feelings because this is your first child. Right. You're excited. Right. You're excited to have this baby come into this world. Not only you, my youngers, my babies, the kids were excited. Their little sister was coming home. So that was where I did have to step back and look at the situation and try to make that decision. But ultimately, it wasn't just me. It had to be my husband and my decision of how he wanted to go. But I needed to sit with him in a private space, away from doctors, to have that conversation, to make him aware, like, here's how I visually see it. But I want you to be honest with your opinion of how you feel. Are you ready to take on what is going to have to happen when she comes home? Yes. And I have to leave that in your hands at this point. Absolutely. I'm for whatever decision you make. Right. you know,
Right.
because I'm your wife and this is my child too.
Mhm.
I sat there and held all this and tried to fight to keep it, but she was like, nope, I'm coming out.
You know, it's time.
Yeah, she said, I'm coming out of here.
Wow.
So, needless to say, we did end up deciding to have them come and baptize her with the shell and everything. And if she tried to attempt to continue to breathe as they unhooked her, then okay, we're gonna help her. But when we unhook her from this machine, she took her last breath laying on my chest, and that was
That's
it.
God. That's God. He
Wow.
knew.
So I looked at it in different ways because, like I said,
And you have
I
to.
love the Lord, but if it's meant for her to be here,
He the
the
kept her.
machine won't be what has to keep her.
That's right. He would have kept her.
Right.
Yes.
The machine is man-made.
So,
But that was
Thank you
wisdom.
for sharing that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you for
Wisdom.
sharing that. That is
no problem.
absolutely. And I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
another show of strength, I
Yes.
believe, in a
Yes.
different way.
In
Yeah.
a different way.
So my opinion on this, in case you guys want to know, what is my opinion on this? So I, like you, Tanisha, see it in a different way. I'm an extremely spiritual person. I like to consider myself very connected to God, and He means everything to me. But when I look at this particular situation, I feel like, and I can be on both sides of it. I feel like I could see the mother's perspective either way. And I feel like whichever decision she makes should be respected. Because and I say that because what I can handle is different than what you can handle.
Yes.
It's different than what you can handle and what you can handle. And so being that everybody is different, I feel like everybody does not necessarily have that. They may not have what it takes. And so are you, even if the child survives, could you possibly be putting the child in a bad situation because they may not be able to handle it? Like you were so graciously, but everybody can't. And so I would never want to put my child or any child in a worse situation because you have to think about their quality of life. How are they going to feel? And not only that, the children that I've had the opportunity to service, they may require total care. So who's going to take care of that child for the rest of their lives? In the event that something happened to somebody, to that mother, God forbid, nobody's saying that, but that's how life works out sometimes. So you have to think about that. Well, if I'm not here to love my baby the way I would love my baby, regardless of their condition, who's going to love my baby like that? Because I know children, we have cared for children they need that total care. And no mother wants to outlive their child. No mother wants to outlive their child. So once that mother is unable to care for that child, who's going to care for the child? So I feel like either way, it's a decision that I can understand on either side. I haven't had the opportunity, like I said, to give birth, and I don't know which one I would choose if I was presented with it, but I could see myself even possibly leaning towards, I want to say either way, just because, like I say, if you do abort a child or something like that, because due to something like that, I feel like you may be doing it, as you said, Tanisha, for that child. The quality of life, depending on what situation they're in, it's the quality of life that they're going to have. You know what I mean? So that's my opinion on it. But I loved everyone's opinion on it because I could see it. Like I say, if God has, and that's an individual thing, if God has given you that thing that you know, I can do this. And I can excel at it. And I can rock this out. Then you are that child's angel. You are that child's special keeper that God, He blessed you with this blessing for you to take care of them, but some people can't. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that because I have heard of mothers committing suicide because they can't handle motherhood, because they can't handle mother. They're not always dropping them at the baby boxes. You guys know the baby boxes where you take them. They're not doing that. Sometimes they're like telling people, tell my baby I love him. And they just can't take it anymore. So before I would want to see a mother do that, I would rather them choose the opposite, you know what I mean? The alternative to that.
Next time on CeleBritty.
My mom was 13 when she had her first child.
Whatever you're dealing with, you're going to pass it on to your children.
That's right.
You laying down with people you don't even know their name. You know their nickname. Crazy. You know him as Lil Ron Ron.
Check in on yourself. I mean, on the inside.
Postpartum depression.
Why do I have these kids? What is my purpose?
We thank you all so very much for joining us today for this episode of Celebrity Talk Show, and we'll see you all next time.
Make sure you're subscribed and that your post notifications are on.